professional Twitter accounts. If you feel like following me, mine is Counselor Deb07 because I started here in 2007. So follow us to see any announcements related to the school counseling world. And of course, our main website is www.chatcougar.com. Tons of good information there, so please take advantage of all these great resources. Okay, hopefully by now y'all are connected to the Infinite Campus portal. If nothing else, please be sure you are checking this a few times a week. This is one of the most important sources of information to be sure your student is staying on track in all of their classes. You can set up alerts to notify you about grades, attendance, and a lot of other things. One thing to note is that we are no longer sending home paper copies of progress reports. So at the 6-week, 12-week, and end of first semester grading periods, as well as, of course, 6-week and 12-week in second semester, you are able to see your students' course averages. Emails go out to parents at each of those grading points, just reminding families that you are able to see those grades and to please check them. If you don't have your Infinite Campus portal set up, please do so. The link at the bottom of this slide here takes you to directions on the county website on how to set it up. We also really encourage students to check to use their Infinite Campus portals as well. They can also set up alerts, and I've had students in my office get those alerts on their phones while I've been talking to them about a grade being entered as a 0, so that was their reminder to turn in the missing assignment. So really great resource, and setting up those notifications, that actually just really helps y'all as extra reminders. Okay, you'll be receiving an email from your student's school counselor this evening about scheduling the junior advisement meeting. If for some reason you don't receive the email by tomorrow, please email your student's counselor, as we may not have your correct email address, or maybe your email address might be actually missing from Infinite Campus. We definitely want to be sure every single one of our students and you as families have the opportunity to schedule a meeting with us. The email you received from the counselor has an electronic scheduling link specific to your student's counselor. Once you schedule the appointment, you'll receive an automated confirmation email. Your student's counselor will then send you a follow-up email with the electronic Teams link to join the meeting. Teams is the system that we use for all of our video conferencing. If you had any conferences with your student school counselor or teachers back in the spring, then you know what Teams is. The follow-up email with the Teams link, that is the one you need to forward to your student for 2 reasons. They will need to either show or send it to their teacher, so they're excused to miss class that day and time that you choose. And so your student actually has an electronic link to join the meeting virtually. We are doing fully virtual meetings just to ensure the safety of our students and their parents. So we want to make sure y'all are safe, but we of course know that meeting quote face-to-face is really important too. So if both parents or guardians want to participate in the meeting, check with each other and choose a time that works for both of you. And then only one parent should schedule a meeting. A really good idea is also check with your student to see which day and class period would be easiest for them to miss. Students know, which classes would be easiest for them to catch up in if they miss a period. They know when their tests and quizzes are coming up, so that would be really important. Also, if your student happens to be taking a dual enrollment or an online class, one of those periods would be really ideal, just because with the online class, it's asynchronous. They can work on that at any time. And with a dual enrollment, if for some reason your student is going face-to-face, then they know what days they go. So then you can choose a day that they don't go. So here's the logistics of the day of your meeting, since we're doing fully virtual. All parents and of course students that are doing remote learning from home will join the meetings remotely virtually. Students who are actually reporting to school face-to-face will also join the meetings virtually, but the way we're going to work this is they will come to the counseling office a few minutes before their meeting starts, bring their device, and the Ms. Butler will direct them to a private room where they can join the meeting on their device and be away from distractions. We have 2 of our breakout rooms reserved in the media center for basically through the end of the semester, really. And then we also have 2 private rooms in our office. We have a flex room. If you happen to come in our office, when you come in on the right, there's a flex room with tables in there. And then we also have a private conference room. So we will be able to accommodate every single student so that they can have a virtual meeting and everyone can see each other face to face. there are some things that we need you to do before the junior advisement meetings. So for families and students to be fully prepared when you come/join the junior advisement meetings, here are the things that have to be done at home before the meetings. Students must have completed all the tasks that are assigned to them in Naviance. There's more detail on this in a future slide. There are some really great college and career searching and exploration activities, and they're really, really great resources for helping students and families think through options for the future. So please take them seriously. Don't rush through them. Have your students be very thoughtful when they're doing these things. Mrs. Butler, our professional assistant, will be checking students' completion of these activities a few days before their scheduled meeting. And if your student hasn't done them, you'll receive a phone call and/or an email from her reminding you to have your student do them. So y'all, Naviance is really a great resource that the district has purchased for every single high school. Take advantage of it and everything it has to offer. Before we got Naviance, there's some groups of parents that Naviance almost has this like cult following. It's just a really great tool, and I'm really glad we finally have it. Okay, the second thing, families are expected to discuss at home the results of their Naviance activities. So really have a sit-down conversation with your student, talk about what the career searching activities and tasks showed them about their personality and their strengths and what areas might be really good for them to pursue in the future. We want y'all to talk about the topics that I'm covering in this meeting, and then also topics just covered in the email that you will receive. There's an attachment called just junior advisement topics, and it's just a rundown of some bullet points of important things to talk through. And then the second page of it is just important deadlines through the rest of your junior year. Like I said, I just cannot stress this enough. Families need to be having a sit-down conversation about these topics prior to the junior advisement meeting so we can make the most of our time. Students should be prepared to come to the meeting, letting us know the senior courses they would like to take, as well as their college and career plans in the meeting. Now, when I say college and career plans, students are not required to know for certain what they are going to do for the rest of their lives. Just be able to share with us the results of the Naviance tasks, as well as a tentative plan of what they think they want to do after high school. Okay, those of you who have attended parent nights in the past or have older students likely already know this information, but for new families or as a reminder, here are the high school graduation requirements. Many of these 23 credits required to graduate are very specific. Of course, students need 4 credits years of English, math, and science. 3 credits of social studies are split into a semester of American government, taken usually in 9th grade, the year of both world and US history, a semester of economics, typically taken in 12th grade. A good example of specific requirements is actually in the social studies area. While we have a lot of students who choose to take AP Human Geography or AP Psychology, and those are both great classes, neither of them count toward that specific category for graduation, even though they are academic classes. They just count as an academic elective. Just as a reminder, in order to walk at graduation and participate in the ceremony, you have to have met every single one of these requirements. If you think you are missing anything, please ask about it in the junior advisement meeting. Of course, we will be talking about the remainder of the classes you need for graduation. As far as the world language goes, it's a common misconception that world language is a high school graduation requirement. It is not. Students can graduate from high school with 3 total credits, and it's any combination from world language, career tech, or fine arts. So for example, a student can take a 3-year pathway for engineering and graduate, or 3 years of orchestra, or a mix and match of classes in different pathways and different subject areas. We do encourage students to take 2 years of world language, since most 4-year colleges require 2 years of world language for admissions, and we don't want to limit students' options right from the get-go. However, if a family or a student knows that they're going to start college at a 2-year or a technical school, or if the student is going to go into the military or the workforce, or even if a student has found a school and can confirm that the school does not require 2 years of world language, then that by all means, that family can choose for the student to not take a world language. Okay, a little note about this personal fitness waiver down here. Students who have completed 1 season of any level, 9th grade, JV, or varsity of a GHSA sport or a season of marching band are all eligible for the personal fitness waiver. Now, just know the waiver is not automatically awarded. The student is required to submit the electronic form linked here, right here, the little bit.ly. Our data clerk gets those requests, sends them either to our athletic director for sports or Mr. Garofalo for marching band for them to confirm the student completed a season. And then she will put the notation on the student's transcript, quote, personal fitness waived. This does not earn credit or a grade. It just satisfies the requirement. So since students still must earn 23 total credits, that 0.5 credit that would have been earned just turns into another 0.5 credit to be earned in the elective area. Waivers need to be submitted by the end of your junior year. Otherwise, your student will be scheduled for personal fitness in their senior year. Okay, this is our graduation status report. I've heard a lot of families call it a 4-year plan. A blank copy is linked here. You can download it and use it to your advantage. We are suggesting to students and families that they download the student's unofficial transcript from Infinite Campus. You can get it from the Documents tab in either the student or the parent portal. Fill out the graduation status report with the completed classes and earned credits from that transcript so you can see what classes you have left to complete for graduation. Each box on the grad status report represents 1 semester, a half a credit of a course. Your student's counselor will go over with this with you in the junior advisement meeting. So of course we will confirm everything, but it definitely is a good exercise for y'all to see the credits and the classes your student has taken and completed and how it plots out on this chart here. Again, you and your student should come to the meeting with their senior classes in mind. Okay, so while counselors have multiple checkpoints to evaluate students' progress towards graduation, students and parents or guardians should be checking this as well. This is definitely a shared responsibility. So like I said, either the parent or student portal, download the student's transcript, use the blank grad status report and complete it. Each box on the chart again represents a half a credit, 1 semester of a class. The only difference in that is for students who were maybe in the accelerated science program 9th grade, or have done or are taking dual enrollment classes, or maybe even students who transferred from a different district or state or country, you might see on your transcript 1.0 credit next to certain classes. That means you've earned a year-long credit, so you check off 2 boxes. So those of you who have kids who did ASP in 9th grade, 1 semester they did the entire year's worth of biology honors. So you can check off both boxes for biology, even though it's only listed in 1 semester. Okay, check to see which classes your student has left to complete for graduation and how much room they have for elective classes or just classes they want to take. Classes they've been wanting to take all throughout high school and just never had room for it, something that they're interested in. Maybe even after taking one of these career assessments, they'll find something that, oh, maybe I should take something like that in my senior year. The scheduling process early next semester will start with current teachers entering course recommendations. What we really want parents and students to be aware of is teachers make their recommendations completely in isolation. Teachers do not know what other teachers are recommending. It's completely up to the student and family to decide on the proper balance of your senior schedule while keeping in mind your other commitments. One of the first questions I always ask students before we talk about their senior schedule is, how much sleep are you getting now on average? And then compare that to the rigor of their current schedule. Parents, your kids are still kids. They need time for their bodies to rest and recuperate. So if a student is only getting 6 hours a night of sleep right now with 2 AP classes and wants to increase to 4 AP classes next year, that might not be a good idea. We want our kids to be balanced. We want our kids to be healthy and happy. So that's just a lot of things to consider. And then finally, if you are interested in taking an online class as part of your schedule next school year, we will have that window of time open beginning of March for students to register for their classes and then submit the online contract. Okay. GPAs are a pretty hot topic. Many students want to know where they stand, especially for Hope and Zell Miller scholarships, future college admissions. So this is a pretty handy little chart that shows you the comparison between the calculation of Fulton County's numeric average and then the Hope Zell Miller GPA. You'll see the differences, but we'll talk about Hope and Zell Miller GPA details at a later time. A few details about these comparisons. Fulton County numeric average includes every single high school class you've ever taken, even from middle school, and including every single elective, non-academic classes, everything. Hope only includes academic classes and a handful of career tech classes. Your Fulton County numeric average is weighted, meaning the grades you see on your transcript already include the 7 additional honors points. Your Hope GPA is re-weighted, as I call it. We'll get to that detail in a couple slides. Really important to know, Chattahoochee counselors cannot give you an official Hope or Zell-Miller GPA calculation. We can give you information on rules that they use for their calculation, but nothing we say about it is considered official for earning those scholarships. The only people that can tell you officially is Georgia Student Finance Commission and your Georgia Futures profile. You can find that information there. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. Another big thing I want to share with y'all is numeric averages do not directly convert to the 4.0 scale. And here's a great example of how that works. So I could have a student that has straight 80s in every single class on their transcript, which average together gives them an 80 numeric average. And every 80 converts to a B, which is a 3 on the 4.0 scale, so they have a 3.0 GPA. However, a different student could have half of 79s on their transcript and half 81s on their transcript. Half 79s, half 81s averaged together still gives them an 80 numeric average. However, those half 79s convert to C's, which are a 2 on the 4.0 scale, and those 81s convert to B's, which are a 3 on the 4.0 scale, and half 2.0s averaged with half 3.0s gives you a 2.5 GPA. So that's how you can see you have to convert each individual grade to the 4.0 scale and then do the calculation. Definitely be sure to check out the Calculating GPA link on the counseling webpage. It's linked under the left under Hooch Counseling Links and Docs. Many students think that their numeric average directly converts, but of course, here's how you can find out. One last point related to your GPA. This might not be in your mind at all, and that's great. But just in case it is, probably a good maybe 7 or 8 years ago, Chattahoochee joined pretty much the rest of North Fulton County high schools and decided to no longer report a student's rank, percentile, or decile. Research has shown over the years that rank was really never an accurate picture of a student when applying to a college, and it was just one more thing that was a stressor to many students. So once we saw that research that showed rank was becoming less and less important to colleges, we just decided to stop reporting it. It is so common for high schools to not report rank or decile or percentile that pretty much every recommendation form that I've filled out for students over the years, there's an option for me to check, we do not rank. So, okie dokie. Testing, SAT, ACT. We typically recommend students take the SAT or ACT in second semester of junior year. Definitely look into it early in second semester if your student plans to use those test scores to possibly apply for dual enrollment heading into 12th grade. Some students may test in first semester of junior year if they're pretty significantly ahead in English or math, but if you haven't tested yet, please do not feel like you are behind. You are right on target. The PSAT is coming up next week. I'm sure you've seen the emails about that. And those results can give you a great picture of how you might expect to perform on the SAT. So if you feel comfortable having your student come to school for that test next Thursday, please do. All students are automatically signed up by the district. You do not have to do a registration or contact anybody to tell us that your kid wants to take it. As far as SAT and ACT, most colleges do not prefer one over the other, but ultimately families are responsible for checking that information with the colleges. If you're not sure which test is a better fit for your student, Peach State Tutoring, right around the corner off of Jones Bridge, they offer a free combined SAT, ACT diagnostic, and the results you receive will show you which test your student would likely score better on. Here's some links on there's a link on our website that shows all the test prep information, as well as where to register for either test. Just keep in mind that each time your student takes either test, they get up to 4 free school reports sent to colleges. Your student can enter the college codes when they register or up to a couple days after they test. definitely take advantage of this free service, because if you wait until after you receive the scores to send them, you'll be out probably $12 per college. And also remember, Chattahoochee doesn't have access to these test scores, and we can't send them anywhere. So it is ultimately the student's responsibility to send them to the testing agent, or through the testing agencies, to their colleges. At the bottom, these 2 bullet points, these are great opportunities for students who are on free reduced lunch or whose families have a financial need. Students in these situations are eligible to receive SAT or ACT fee waivers. They waive the cost of registering for either test, but they do not cover the extra fee for late registration. You want to get information on that, you can email our professional assistant, Mrs. Butler, or you can stop by the counseling office. Students also in the same category are also eligible to be entered in a drawing for a voucher that we were given, actually donated, for a test prep class from Best in Class Education. There's a link down here on the bottom. Fill out the Google form that's linked here if you are interested in being entered into that drawing. Once we draw the name, we will reach out to the family whose name is drawn. Okay, so of course we're in the time we have to have a whole bunch of COVID considerations. So regarding testing for the SAT, ACT, pretty much everything is in flux right now. So planning ahead is probably it's going to be your best bet, and be flexible at the same time. The testing agencies are always the best source of info regarding test date cancellations, refunds, rescheduling, all that kind of stuff. Chattahoochee is not even privy to that information. It really remains to be seen if colleges will still be test optional for students applying next school year, as many colleges are for current seniors. It's possible, but again, it remains to be seen. We are, telling students and parents that they need to check the websites of any colleges they are considering to learn about their latest testing policies. If it's not listed, feel free to contact their admissions office. Dual enrollment. I love dual enrollment. This is when you can earn dual credit for both high school and college. There's an asterisk at college down on the bottom. Of course, we just have to give you the disclaimer that students and families are responsible for researching to see if the dual enrollment credits you earn will transfer to a college you're interested in, attending in the future. Pretty much every college is going to have a transfer equivalency list to see where you can see classes that school has already evaluated from other institutions and determined to be transferable. Any classes taken at Perimeter College, which is part of Georgia State University, that's our biggest population of students that goes there. That is a 4-year public college in Georgia. That is part of Georgia Student Finance. The Board of Regents. There's so many organizations in Georgia related to college and testing and everything. Georgia State University is, of course, under the Board of Regents. Any classes taken there will transfer to any other 4-year public college in Georgia. Our next smallest population of students taking dual enrollment classes is through Gwinnett Tech. Even though Gwinnett Tech is under the technical college system of Georgia, there is a list of 26 core classes, including English 1101, college algebra, college U.S. history, all of those that are guaranteed, again, to transfer to 4-year public colleges in Georgia. There's an agreement between technical college system and university system. Outside of Georgia, we've seen plenty of credits transfer to plenty of colleges. But again, ultimately, family's responsibility. So there are some new dual enrollment regulations that came through in legislature end of last school year-ish. It no longer allows 9th grade students to take dual enrollment classes. Students can take classes starting in 10th grade. However, Georgia Student Finance Commission says that 10th graders can only take career tech class courses. If a 10th grader wanted to take an academic class, like world history is the standard social studies class for 10th grade, they would have to have minimum test scores, and they're the same minimum test scores required for Zell Miller scholarships, which is a 1200 on the SAT or a 26 on the ACT. 11th and 12th graders have a little bit more flexibility, and like the slide says, some institutions only accept 11th and 12th graders. So with the most popular colleges around here, Gwinnett Tech, 10th graders, and of course 11th and 12th graders can go through them. Perimeter College, part of Georgia State University, will only accept 11th and 12th graders. And they will accept those earliest in the summer between 10th and 11th grade. There's no residency or citizenship requirement, which is fabulous. Of course, you have to meet the different admissions requirements, and of course, not all receives a high school diploma. So I think the funding piece, the monetary piece, is maybe even the number one factor that drives students and families wanting to want to do dual enrollment. Students, of course, who meet the eligibility requirements will have all their tuition and the mandatory fees covered by state funding. It used to be that when I started school counseling in 2007, dual enrollment would pay tuition, but the family had to pay the fees, and they would have to pay for textbooks. And even back then, it would count toward the number of classes that the state would cover for HOPE. Now, we're at this point where all the fees are covered, all the ones that are standardly charged. Textbooks are even loaned to students for the duration of the semester. So really the only thing that students would be responsible for, three things. So the course-specific fees. So if a student chooses to take a science lab course, that would be that. If a student is late turning their textbook back in, turns it in past the deadline, or the textbook is lost, of course there's a fee for that. And then if the student does not essentially do what they're supposed to do and registers during, quote, late registration according to the college, there would be a late registration fee. But that's still a really, really, really great deal. Another big piece of the updated legislation is there's a cap of 30 credit hours maximum that the state will pay for dual enrollment students through all years of high school combined. So yeah, it might be great for a 10th grader to take world history one semester and then, I don't know, maybe a career tech class other semester, but that's 2 classes, which is 6 credit hours already covered. So I could see that, possibly encouraging families to wait to do dual enrollment until 11th or 12th grade. Students who want to take classes past the 30 credit hours are responsible for that cost out of pocket. And because they're paying out of pocket and not funded from the state, those classes cannot be part of their regular high school schedule. So I mentioned earlier about the impact dual enrollment used to have on HOPE. It's different now. The credit hours paid for dual enrollment, again, are not counted toward the attempted hours limit for HOPE and Zell Miller. The dual enrollment course grades earned in high school do count towards a student's initial HOPE eligibility, of course Zell Miller too, because that's part of their high school GPA, and the GPA for HOPE and Zell Miller is calculated right after they graduate. However, the dual enrollment classes and grades that they earned in high school don't count in the student's GPA maintenance while they're in college. So once you get into college, the students will be checked I believe it's every 30 hours and every 2 semesters to see if they are maintaining HOPE and Zell Miller GPAs. The high school classes, or the dual enrollment classes they took while they were in high school, do not count towards that maintenance GPA. Next steps for dual enrollment. And this is, I think, everything I'm going to talk about for this, because we're going to have a very detailed dual enrollment night in late January. There you go, dual enrollment night in late January for specifics about the application process. We definitely encourage parents and students to discuss dual enrollment to determine if it's a good fit, determine which college or university you want to apply to, make sure you meet the admissions requirements. It would be good to take the SAT or ACT definitely by maybe early next semester. Ultimately, just needs to be before the college deadline for dual enrollment admissions. Of course, here's the 2 links to register for the SAT or ACT. Perimeter College, again, part of Georgia State, and Gwinnett Tech will allow students to take the AccuPlacer in lieu of the SAT or ACT. So if you're hesitant to have your student take either the SAT or ACT, especially now while COVID is going on and there's still some concerns, I know for certain Perimeter College has the AccuPlacer available online. There's a testing service you have to register with, and I think it might be like a $15 charge or something like that. And I believe Gwinnett Tech does too. So there are ways your student can still be eligible for dual enrollment if you do not yet feel comfortable with them taking the SAT or ACT. Fulton County does have deadlines that differ from the college, so definitely make sure to follow both the directions on the college websites and with Fulton County. Big application deadline is students who want to do dual enrollment starting in summer 2021. The deadline is March 1st next semester, and students who plan on participating in dual enrollment in fall 2021, that deadline is March 31st. Those deadlines, though, you do not have to be accepted by those deadlines. You do not have to be registered. What we need done by those deadlines are submit the Fulton County dual enrollment contract. Of course, information about that will be coming in the spring. Submit the application to the college. Request your transcript to be sent to the college if needed. And those are the main things. So it's just those first initial steps. This fabulous website, this is our dual enrollment website. It's our Weebly. Ms. Chilson runs it, updates it, edits it, all that business. It's a ton of great information. So if you have any specific questions about dual enrollment, that's a great place to go. Okay, Naviance, that's our new portal, and it does just about everything. Every single high school student down to 9th graders have a Naviance account. No code is needed. I've had a couple kids email me asking for the code to get into Naviance, but there's no code needed. You sign into ClassLink. All students should be familiar with that, and then you click on the Naviance icon. So fabulous features. Student logs in. The announcements that they see on the main page are tailored to their specific grade level. So current juniors, if they logged into Naviance recently, saw an announcement for and the link to this presentation. The college career searching, register for college visits, scholarship searching, more info on that is to come in later slides. And then starting next semester, we'll be using Naviance for all of the dual enrollment information, announcements, document submission, everything. The district is no longer using Google Classroom, and while we loved that portal very much, we're going to make Naviance work for us as well. Okay, here are the steps to take to get to the tasks you must complete on Naviance before your junior advisement meeting. Again, very simple to log into Naviance straight through ClassLink. Every single one of our students goes to ClassLink probably every single day to get into their classes and to do different things, so they know how to get there. Log into ClassLink. And again, parents, you cannot do this for your students. You do not have access to Naviance like your students do. Once in Naviance, the bottom left of their screen, there's an important to-dos and tasks link. If you click see all in my planner and then click on the tasks assigned to me at the top, here it is in the little screenshot, then you'll see all the tasks you must complete at home before your junior advisement meeting. Now, this screenshot happens to show or it's from a dual enrollment student who's currently taking college classes. So this screenshot shows this link right here, the dual enrollment survey. That is something that we needed our current dual enrollment students to do. Students not doing dual enrollment, that is not needed right now. Okay, also in Naviance, if you have no idea what you want to do after high school, that is completely fine. Naviance can really help with this. So Road Trip Nation, that's one of the really great things and features in Naviance. There's over 8,000 videos of leaders across the country talking about their lives, their struggles, triumphs, basically kind of how they got into the position they are in now. They're all broken down into different categories. When I was going through Naviance and just looking at all the options that students have to look at, explore what their strengths, their interests, that kind of stuff. I remember doing a career assessment in high school at some point, and it said, based on my strengths, I should be an elementary teacher. So clearly I didn't end up doing that, but I still wound up in the field of education, just doing something slightly differently and with an older age group. So it definitely wasn't that far off for me. Okay, I'm going to show you I'm going to show you a demo of this Naviance in just a minute. So the super match, There's a ton of great features in this. I believe this is one of the biggest features that parents who were like basically crusading for us to get Naviance were so into. Okay, so let me switch over to another screen. Give me just a second. Okay, perfect. So shout out to one of my fabulous 11th graders, Lily Phillips, for letting me use her view of Naviance to showcase this feature. These are all factors to consider when looking for colleges. So under location, you can choose, different regions, large city, small city. You can look for different states, all that kind of stuff. So think about, do you want to be closer to home in the Southeast? Do you want to go to school in a different state where you used to live? Does weather make a difference? I hate the cold, so I can't live any further north in Atlanta. So that's why I went to both undergrad and grad school in Georgia. Okay, academics is pretty simple. Oh man, hang on one second. Okay, back in her account. Back in Supermatch. Sorry, y'all, it timed out. Okay, so under the academics, this is pretty simple. It's just the type of degrees that they offer. Under admissions, you can enter your GPA on a 4.0 scale. Of course, you can reference the GPA calculator link from earlier in the presentation. You can enter your SAT and ACT scores. You can even search by credits they accept and applications that they use. So student life, organizations, clubs, if Greek life, being in a fraternity or a sorority, if those are important to you, you can indicate that. ROTC options, just all the different things that you can be involved in. Here's some great examples of diversity that, there are definitely kids out there that are looking for a certain, level of diversity or a certain, diversity indicators, religious affiliations, gender concentrations, everything. So a lot of different options to choose there. I think it's interesting. I like having the out-of-state students and the international students on there. I think it's really cool that kids go to school and they just get to interact with all these kids from all around the country. Institution characteristics. If you're specifically looking for a 4-year school, you can uncheck the 2-year. If you're specifically looking for 2-year, uncheck 4-year. Public, private, class sizes, number of students enrolled in the school. Under cost, you can actually search by in-state tuition, maximum tuition and fees. You can search for, different schools in your state and, in-state tuition. Athletics, that I'm not a sporty person, but that's cool. There are plenty of kids that really, really want college football, really, really want college basketball. And honestly, this is also a great tool for our current student athletes to be using when they're looking at schools, because if you want to be playing a sport for a college in the future, then that is a great way to search for them. And then resources, learning differences, tutoring, physical accessibility, different support for different disabilities. So tons of different things. So once you have all these things in here, then once you've selected the criteria to start, then you can run this and it'll give you a fit score, a percentage, an academic match too. So the things to keep in mind when doing the super match is rigor is not included in the list of factors used to match you with a school. Of course, with academics, you could see, admission is under admissions tab. It shows, your GPA and your test scores. There's not a rigor attribute in here. So just keep in mind that, there are schools that don't care about, the level of rigor that you've taken. It's just your GPA and test scores. But there are other schools that do have a certain level of rigorous classes they're looking to see. The Supermatch is a great tool, but it's one of many. This is not guaranteed to be 100% accurate. This is not something that you should rely on fully to tell you if you're going to get into a school. Ultimately, students and families should always reference the college admissions websites to see the stats of the most recently admitted class of students, usually called a freshman profile, and your student should compare your academic profile to those averages and ranges. Okay, I'm gonna switch back, stop sharing. Video content, share. Okay, we're back. So we went over all this in Naviance. And like I said, it's not an exact science, it's just one of many, many, many tools. Okay, definitely want to talk about safety, match, and reach schools. You can see the difference between, those definitions. And when I say safety, I'm not meaning the easiest possible school to get into in the country. There are still schools, these are still schools that the student would be completely happy attending. They're just pretty positive they would be admitted based on their academic profile. And I want to share these because every year we see students applying to a wide range of colleges, which is great. Every single kid needs to be applying to a couple safety, a couple match, and a couple reach schools. However, we always see a handful of students who are just stretching themselves a little bit too much and only apply to reach schools that a lot of times they don't get into, and they actually end up a lot of times missing application deadlines for schools that would have been safety or match schools for them. So we just don't want any of our kids to get in that situation. So when you're looking at the list of colleges you're considering, you should be able to put categories based on your academic profile. And like I said before, your academic profile means your GPA and test scores. Of course, keep in mind, there are colleges out there that use a holistic review. So they would consider extracurriculars, volunteer experience, leadership roles, work experience, etc. Again, the source of information for this is to look at college freshman profiles. If you can't find them easily on the website, email the admissions offices and ask for them. This link below is a great, even more in-depth description of all these different school types. So we've talked a lot about college, and we do because a lot of our kids do go to college, but there are plenty of options out there, tons of options out there, and we want our kids to go on their path. We want them to do what they're going to enjoy, what they want to do, and we support every single piece of it. There's always a handful of students that take a gap year. I've definitely heard more students and parents say this year they're considering that. Typically, families might look into that option because the student has just absolutely no idea what they want to do after high school. And they, it could be that they might even want to take a little bit of a break. It could be that they're going to take a year off to work, and because the student is responsible for helping pay for college. I think that's a great idea. I've had students come up with really great plans for gap years to do some traveling, but then they're going to go intern with their aunt's company in New York for a couple months, and then they're going to go intern somewhere else with another family member. There's a lot of different ways to do a gap year or something just a little bit more non-traditional. I think it's definitely gap year is becoming more of an option because of all the uncertainties surrounding COVID. And of course, the possibility of paying a decent sized tuition bill to only be able to take classes online. There are a ton of organizations, service groups, missions, everything that you can look into for other things you can do during a gap year. Like I said, working is a great option. Hang on just a second. What? Oh. Nice and on. Okay, Ms. Murray just let me know that the screen display has stopped, so let me just check and see. Oh,
that's what we're seeing.
Oh, failed to execute send live command. Let's try that again. Send live. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let me try this. So sorry, guys, I'm getting an error message, but we're going to make this work. We're back? Fabulous. We're back. See, this is why it takes a team to do these things. This is not a one-person deal by any means. Okay, where was I on here? Yes, okay, working is a great option. Of course, you know, students sometimes need to help their families with paying bills, or a student knows he or she is fully responsible for paying for the cost of college, so they want to get a head start on saving money. Great, so there's all these great options. On the right side, we have some information about apprenticeship programs. We've had, you know, a decent number of kids start apprenticeship programs where students can get on-the-job training while they're getting paid, and then they're, you know, fully into their career. We had a student, I believe, that graduated last year who's an electrician apprentice, and he's getting paid to learn, and it's great. And then, of course, tons of military options and branches if you're interested in that. All these links on the website, sorry, on the slide take you to where you can connect with a recruiter. And then over here, Mr. Keller, he's one of our CTI specialists. He is coordinating a date for students to be able to take the ASVAB. That's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. It's tentatively planned for late November, possibly early December. Ultimately, we just want students to pursue what you are interested in, not what someone else wants you to do. It's your life. One more thing that Naviance is good for, you can sign up for college visits. Dates are posted now. We're talking about quote, and I say quote because not all kids are on campus. Juniors and seniors are allowed to attend 7 visits during the school year. Before any visit, students should research the college, be prepared to ask questions of the rep. Some colleges do consider what they call demonstrated interest in the admissions process. So being an active participant in college visits with reps is really important. Okay, off-campus college visit, that's what I call it. That would be when you're not doing one that's necessarily coordinated through Chattahoochee. So some colleges are actually hosting in-person visits. Of course, due to COVID precautions, they might limit the number of people that can attend for family. They might not have, you know, a maximum number of people that they can accommodate at a time. But there are plenty of options out there. Lots of colleges also have virtual visits, and those are where you can, you know, log in at a specific time. I've even seen some colleges, you know, they've got a live question and answer session. Maybe a video that they show them. They might even be able to take them around the campus, or they can show them a video of a campus tour. Very, very important. You have to register ahead of time with the college. Contact their admissions office or look on their website. You can't just show up to a college and expect to be taken on a tour. You can show up to a campus and drive around, but that's really not going to give you the best picture of what that school can offer you. As far as an off-campus visit, students get 6 pre-approved absences per year. You would bring a note from a parent to the attendance office at least 3 school days prior to your visit, and then you'll be told the next steps. There's usually a pre-approved absence form that you have to take around to your teachers to get signed, saying that you're in good standing in their class and you can miss it, and take it back to the attendance office and you're good. If you are in fully remote learning, parents can email this stuff up in the attendance office. Her email address is listed right here. Like I said, this is only for students that are in remote learning because, of course, we you know, they're concerned about impacts of COVID, safety precautions, all that kind of stuff. Maybe there's people living in the house that can't be exposed to, you know, different things. Students, if you are going to school face-to-face, you should be bringing a physical note from your parent. Again, students should be researching your college and be prepared with questions to ask the reps. Parents, it's great for you to go on visits with your kids, and there might be some parent-related or parent-specific questions for you to ask, but ultimately it really should be the student asking the question, because it's the student who's applying and possibly going to college, right? Okay. At the bottom, we have 2 great suggestions for national college fairs. I know for sure the NADAC one is offering virtually, and I'm not really positive if the National College Fair is going to be face-to-face or virtual. They honestly might not even have a decision yet on that because it's not until March, but great options. I mentioned previously, students going to college and looking for sports, definitely a factor here if you are a college-bound athlete. If you are hoping to or planning on playing a sport for college at an NCAA institution, you must register with the initial eligibility clearinghouse. You also have to have your transcripts sent to the NCAA. This is not for college admissions. It's just to clear you for the academic requirements to play sports at certain levels in college. Miss Lang in the main office, she specifically handles sending those transcripts. So you need to contact her after registering on the portal so you can request your transcript to be sent. Best to register on the portal first and then ask her to send your transcript. She will have to send you a form for your parents to sign, and then you have to send it back to her. So that's just your parents giving her permission to release them. When you take the SAT or ACT, if you want your scores sent to the NCAA, the code is 9999. You and your parents are responsible for reviewing the NCAA academic course requirements, as they might differ from graduation requirements. Your responsibility. Definitely best to get registered with NCAA as soon as you can, so that you can be sure you're on track with your course choices. And again, just another thing, we can give you information, we can point you in the right direction, but strategy counselors do not advise or make recommendations on NCAA course requirements. We can send you to their website, that kind of stuff. But we are experts on high school graduation requirements, not NCAA. NCAA would never tell a student what they need to graduate from high school. They would send them back to us. So please reach out to NCAA for that verification. Okay, Georgia Futures, I think I've referenced this on a couple different slides. It's a really great resource for students and families to both use for a lot of information. If you already have an account, that's great. If not, create one. It's really easy. Just be sure that all this information listed at the bottom is correct, is entered correct, and it's full. It's fully completed. That's what I'm trying to say here. I know some students, go by nickname or whatever. You have to enter your full legal name. If your social security number is not entered, you will not be able to see your HOPE progress GPA, because that is how things connect with us here and our information that we send to Georgia Futures. If you do have your social security number entered in your Georgia Futures account and you're still not able to see your HOPE GPA, that could be because we don't have your social security number on file, or for some odd reason, maybe it was entered incorrectly. So if you end up in that situation, reach out to your school counselor and we can help figure out what direction we need to go in to resolve that. Okay, so these are the general qualifications for HOPE and Zell-Miller scholarships and grants. These don't get into super details. This is just very basic qualifications. Legal resident of Georgia, graduate of an eligible high school, males must be registered for the Selective Service, and those are just general citizenship requirements. Georgia Student Finance Commission officially calculates your GPA. Again, another thing we cannot give you an official number on. Students can monitor HOPE progress GPA in their Georgia Futures accounts. Fulton County sends updated transcripts to Georgia Student Finance Commission once a semester, typically within the first, 4 to 6 weeks of the semester after the previous semester's grades have been finalized. For HOPE and Zell-Miller, your final calculation for your GPA is not done until after you graduate, because of course it's a completely cumulative GPA. And you must, quote, apply. I say apply, you do have to fill out some forms, but it's not necessarily, like a college application, like they're going to reject you just because it's their choice. You do have to do those forms just as a formality. If you and your parents submit the FAFSA, that's the free application for federal student aid, it's linked at the bottom down here. That serves as your application. That would have to be submitted every year. You would be considered for aid and for HOPE or Zell-Miller. You can also submit the GSS as the Georgia State Financial Application. Once submitted, it is good for 10 years for HOPE and Zell-Miller. Let's see. HOPE and Zell-Miller lost myself here. Georgia Student Finance Commission actually suggests families to complete both applications, the FAFSA and the GSF apps, in the student's senior year in preparation for the first year of college. Then if you do not receive anything from FAFSA as far as, grants, or if you have no, if you have no notes or loans, then the GSF apps you've already completed is good for 10 years after high school. Ultimately, we can't tell you, oh yes, definitely do this one or definitely do that one. But again, just giving you some information about options. Okay, GPA calculations. Hope and Zillow GPAs are calculated in the same way. All academic classes are included. They include English, Math, Science, Social Studies, World Language, also including academic electives like AP Human Geography, AP Psychology, even Yearbook, and Journalism. Those are both English course numbers. And then a handful of career tech classes that GSSC specifically says are included. So examples of those are Essentials of Healthcare, Engineering Applications, and 2 AP Comp Sci classes that we have. High school classes taken at middle school are not used in the calculation, but they do still count towards high school graduation requirements. And as I said before, your GPA is re-weighted, as I call it. They remove the 7 honors points out of any honors, AP, or college class grades. They convert that base grade to a 4.0 scale, and they add an additional 0.5 quality point up to a max of 4.0. So if you have a 4 and A as your base grade in an AP class, you're not going to get a 4.5 calculated into your HOPE GPA. That 0.5 might sound kind of minuscule to you, but I have had students qualify for HOPE or Zell Miller because of one grade, one semester that was an extra 0.5. So it means something. Okay, specific to HOPE eligibility. There's two. Earn a 3.0 GPA by the end of high school, and earn 4.0 credits from a specific list of rigor classes. Now, rigor for HOPE is very different than rigor for, say, like an Ivy League school. A very big misconception here is that you must have an honors or an AP class to earn rigor. It is not true at all. Students can meet rigor requirements by taking on-level standard classes throughout high school. Never an honors, never an AP, you can still be good. Algebra 2, every single student has to take that. Advanced math decision making, that's one of our on-level 12th grade math classes. The second year of world language, and physics. So none of those are honors or AP or anything. And a note about physics. A few years ago, we used to teach physical science. That is one of the 2 options that meet the specific graduation requirement in the science area. But some of our students with 3.0 GPAs and higher weren't meeting the HOPE rigor requirement. So we adjusted our curriculum, and now instead of physical science, we offer 2 versions, if you will, of physics. Both are listed the same on transcripts, but the quote conceptual physics is taught more based on the concepts and less based on the math. So students who take fully on level science, biology, environmental science, earth systems, and conceptual physics can still meet HOPE rigor. The majority of our students meet HOPE rigor requirement. You'll see details here about the HOPE award amount. It's a standard amount based on the previous year's cost of attendance. It tends to range from 80 to 85% of tuition and mandatory fees covered at public colleges in Georgia. And then, of course, there's a set rate it pays for private colleges. Georgia Futures has the chart for each individual college. The institutional fees are always paid by the student. And then to maintain your GPA in college, I'm sorry, there we go, we're back. To maintain your GPA in college, you have to have a 3.0 at different checkpoints. And from what I understand, the checkpoints are every 2 semesters and every 30 credit hours. And they did that because some students were realizing maybe after their first semester of college that they were totally not going to meet HOPE GPA because of maybe how poorly they did. They had taken 15 hours their first semester, and second semester they purposely did not take 15 hours so they wouldn't get up to that 30-hour checkpoint. And then that kind of squeezed out an extra semester of HOPE payment. So of course they get around that by adjusting. Okay, specifics on Zell-Miller eligibility. You can either graduate as the valedictorian or salutatorian, but of course only 2 people can do that. So the other way to earn Zell is to meet the following 3 requirements. You can earn a 3.7 GPA by high school, test score requirements, 1200 combined score of evidence-based reading and writing and math on the SAT, or composite 26 on the ACT. 2 caveats of that piece are that the scores must be earned on a single administration date and before your graduation. Then, of course, earn the 4 rigor credits. So since we're talking about test scores, and of course, COVID has affected, number of test dates, and certain test locations have closed. For seniors who graduated last year and may not have had a chance to test again because of COVID to earn those minimum scores for Zell, the state did extend the deadline to submit those scores to, I believe, December 2020. However, we have not heard if any concessions will be made for this year's seniors even, or future years. The award amount, Zell pays 100% of tuition and mandatory fees, and students must maintain a 3.3 throughout college. And again, checkpoints every 2 semesters, every 30 credit hours. If a student drops below that 3.3 to maintain Zell, you can still earn HOPE if you have above a 3.0. And I know some kids, I think it's great to aim for Zell, but the difference between having Zell and having HOPE is much smaller than having HOPE and having no HOPE. So just a little reassurance there. Okay, HOPE and Zell-Miller grants also exist. These are specifically for students seeking a technical certificate or a diploma. Students do not have to have finished high school with a certain GPA to earn these. This is great. HOPE grant recipients must maintain a 2.0 GPA at the different checkpoints in college. The award covers a portion of tuition. Of course, you can find that on Georgia Futures. The Zell-Miller grant recipients must earn and maintain a 3.5 at different checkpoints, and the award actually covers 100% of tuition. The really neat thing about the Zell-Miller grant is that the state will retroactively pay the first term of college if a student earns a 3.5 GPA at the end of that term. Pretty cool. Okay, scholarships, free money. This kid, he's got lots of money. Institutional scholarships, that would be located specifically through the college. Let's see, institutional scholarships. The financial aid webpage of each college is going to be your best source of information. Some departments within each college may have their own scholarships as well. When you do start applying to colleges, please be sure to check any scholarship priority deadlines. You wouldn't want to miss out on scholarship qualification just because you missed a deadline. Of course, local scholarships, those are typically specific to, professional or religious organizations or community organizations that the student or parent might be a member of. Examples that of these type of scholarships that have come through our office are through the American Legion, maybe employer-sponsored scholarships, Boy or Girl Scouts, church groups, that kind of stuff. A couple employer-sponsored scholarships that I'm aware of just from having students over the years, typically pretty large companies that their parents work for. I believe UPS has one, and I'm almost positive Kimberly-Clark has one. National scholarships, these are going to be the ones where the biggest number of students apply to these. So more applicants competing for the money. The academic common market is definitely an underutilized option in my opinion. It typically is students who want to pursue a pretty specific major that take advantage of it, but it definitely doesn't hurt to look to see what is out there. The way this works is that students are able to pursue majors that don't exist at a public college in their state, and if they, with Georgia, and then I think there's like 13 or 14 states that are part of this agreement, you could get in-state tuition at an out-of-state school. So one of my good examples is I had a student a couple years ago who knew he wanted to go to dental school. So his undergrad degree, it doesn't have to be a certain title. He just has to have taken certain classes, the chems and the bios and all that. So he did academic common market to go through University of South Carolina, and I believe his major was cardiovascular technology. I think I have another student who went somewhere in Louisiana for, I believe, petroleum engineering. So these are pretty specific, kind of niche-y majors, but it exists. Definitely requires some legwork. I think you have to get, you have to actually go down to Fulton County Court and get some form taken care of that shows you're a legal resident of Georgia, but all very worth it in the end. This website is great. You can actually pull up your home state. You can search by major, you can search by degree level, you can search by college, just to see what ones would be a good fit. Always use the scholarship link on Naviance to research and explore options. And of course, Twitter, Facebook, Chattahoochee Counseling website, all those are going to be great sources as well. We did have financial aid night a few weeks ago, so there was definitely more detailed information then. We always have financial aid night beginning of October every single year. Okay, just miscellaneous, reminders, whatever. Students need to check their Fulton County email address every single day. These juniors are really about 1.5 years from being fully on their own in college. And once they're there, people that work at the college, professors, advisors, they will not communicate with parents. So it's super important that your students get accustomed to handling communications on their own. That's why it's great practice for them to be checking their Fulton County email every single day. You'll see here that, there's certain things that the counseling office doesn't process until after Labor Day each year. It's wonderful when students start applying to colleges, that kind of stuff in the summer. You're getting ahead. That's awesome. However, while you might be fully on track to graduate and ready to start your college apps, the counseling office devotes the first few weeks of each school year to wrapping up summer school grades, checking student schedules, confirming senior schedules, making lots of schedule changes. You get it, lots of scheduling things. So that is why we wait until after Labor Day to start processing those items. We also always have the senior meeting, just like this junior meeting, right after Labor Day. So we want families to hear all the information we can possibly share with them about their senior year before we start processing those documents. Here's a couple things to wait on, to wait to do until after the senior meeting in fall 2021. If you want to go ahead and request a transcript, great, but we're not processing it. Do not even recommend or add any recommenders. That makes things really complicated. One of the biggest hurdles that we've run into this year with our seniors are those that over the summer added recommenders to their Common App accounts, but then now we're using Naviance and all recommendation requests have to go through Naviance. So they had to backtrack. We had to kind of figure out how to make things work. Don't pair your Common App account with Naviance until after the senior meeting. And until we get into our senior year and after the senior meeting, do not add any colleges to colleges I'm interested in. There's a tab to instead add them on Naviance to colleges, use colleges I'm interested in, not I'm applying to. Last piece, please use an appropriate personal email address when you're creating accounts to apply to colleges. You might create a Common App account. Please make it appropriate. Sometimes colleges do actually see your email addresses, so we want things that are appropriate. Also, the other reason is not to use your Fulton County email address because once you leave Fulton County schools, that you no longer have access to that email address. So if you don't have access to it, you might not be able to get into any accounts that you've used or created. Okay, I'm done with my piece for right now. Ms. Johnson and Ms. Vermurray will now answer any questions that were not answered in the Q&A chat feature. Feel free to ask any other questions, and I'm happy to jump in as well and answer questions too.
Well, as it turns out, it appears that we have been able to answer all of the questions in the chat feature. If we can hang on a moment to see if someone wants to add some additional questions, we'll be happy to take them.
Fabulous. That's why it's better to have two of y'all running it.
We'll give it a few more minutes.
Sure.
The question that keeps coming up in the chat is hope need-based? We've answered it a few times, but Hope Scholarship, Zell Miller Scholarship, neither are need-based. You must complete the FAFSA, and I think that might, the FAFSA or the GSFAPS, that may be creating a little bit of confusion as to whether or not it is a need-based program, but neither program is a need-based program, but they do require that you do the FAFSA or the GSFAPS form. We do have a question here asking about if a student didn't want to take the SAT yet or the ACT yet, can they still apply for dual enrollment? Ms. Blunt, can you answer that question?
Say the question again, I'm sorry.
If the student did not want to yet take the SAT or the ACT, can they still apply for dual enrollment?
Absolutely. So, well, okay, let me say it like this. It does depend on where you want to apply for dual enrollment. Students who want to apply for, say, Georgia Tech distance math, they require SAT or ACT scores. However, if you want to do dual enrollment through Gwinnett Tech or Perimeter College, which is technically what we're, it's part of Georgia State, you can take the AccuPlacer. Georgia State will accept the AccuPlacer. They actually even set it up back in the spring when COVID hit and everything kind of shut down to make the AccuPlacer fully online. So there's a testing organization that you have to, register with, and I think you might have to pay a small fee for like a proctor or something like that. But we had plenty of kids take the AccuPlacer back in the spring because, they had March or April plans to take the SAT or ACT, and bam, COVID hit. Gwinnett Tech will also take PSAT scores. So that is also an option. If you wanted to apply to Gwinnett Tech and use your PSAT scores, Mrs. Leonardo, our registrar, she can send those at your request. You would just need to send her an email, give her your name, and tell her where you want them sent.
Okay, let's see. One question that's in here is, which GPA metric do college admissions pay more attention to? The Fulton County calculation or the HOPE calculation? Okay, that's a really interesting question. So HOPE is about funding. It's not about college entrance. So that's a very different part of what colleges do. There's the financial aid side, and then there is the admissions side. So the admissions side is going to be using a totally different GPA. HOPE does its own GPA calculation. That calculation is done by the Georgia Student Finance Commission, whereas each college may have its own formula for making a GPA calculation. Even the calculation that we have at the high school may not be used at all for the college admissions process. It is really important that if you are interested in a school that you determine what their GPA calculation is. You might find that they will do an unweighted calculation. You may find that they do a re-weighted calculation, meaning that they subtract the weight that we have and they apply their own weighting. There are some colleges that have been known to double weight. So it's important that you look a little closer at what the college is doing that you are interested in so that you can come out with the most accurate information. Another question that's been submitted is which, oh no, that's the same question. Sorry about that. Okay.
Think we're covered?
Yeah, it's looking like we're done.
Okay. Well, if any of y'all that are still hanging out, if y'all think of any questions later on, you are welcome to shoot an email to your student's counselor. And again, thank y'all so much for joining us. Really hope this was very helpful. And you should be receiving the email from your student's counselor with the link to schedule your student's junior advisement appointment. Y'all have a great night. Thanks.